Hello, everyone, and welcome back for episode 11 of He Said, She Said. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm Sierra.
And this week, we are talking about a topic that we actually both agree on, and that's gun control. When I say we agree, I mean that we are both pro-gun.
Yep.
In this podcast, we're going to find out our views on gun control in general, though, kind of where we stand on gun control. Before we get started, we do want to say our condolences for the recent tragic shooting that occurred in May and all other persons that have been affected by similar tragedies.
Yep. So we actually had a listener reach out and ask us if this was going to be a topic. And Eric and I had talked about, long before we actually even started the podcast, we were kind of just spitballing topics. And this one came up and we weren't sure if we wanted to do it because it is such a heavy topic. But I think if we explain and, go into detail, then I think people will have a better understanding of us. So.
Yeah, for sure. We want to note that although we are both pro-gun, we do believe that incidents like this, although tragic, are likely avoidable in one way, shape, or form. So before we get totally into gun control, we're going to talk a little bit about the parts and history of an AR. And I say this because generally on the news, if there is any event, it's usually AR, not usually pistols, right?
Yeah. And also, finally, Eric's going to be talking more on a podcast than I am.
Yes, I most likely will. So everyone tends to get scared when they hear those two letters because they think that AR stands for assault rifle.
Even me being in the Army, I actually was one of those people.
Oh, no.
I know.
Well, in fact, AR does not stand for assault rifle. AR, in fact, stands for Armalite rifle. Okay, I hate it when people call these assault rifles or assault weapons because, like I said, they're not. Assault is a verb, and you can assault people with these weapons. But, like I said, it's an Armalite rifle, AR-15. Armalite was the company that came up with this design for the style of rifle back in the 1950s. When you mention the 15 in AR-15, that just stands for the model of AR, so it's the 15th model or design of the AR. There are other models, the most familiar being the AR-10, which is simply a larger framed rifle using a larger caliber than the AR-15. So, the parts of an AR consist of the following. You have your lower receiver, or lower body, and then your upper receiver, or upper body. A lower receiver, this piece of the gun is literally considered the firearm by the ATF. This part generally contains a serial number. The lower receiver houses the fire control group, which includes your trigger, your hammer, your disconnect, and all the springs, the magazine, your magazine release, your buffer tube, your buffer, stock of your choosing, safety selector, and your bolt catch. Kind of in a nutshell there. You've got some other springs and miscellaneous pins, but that's the majority of it. The upper receiver is the part of the firearm that contains the barrel, the bolt carrier group, your charging handle, and the forward assist. When each of these receivers contain all the mentioned parts and then are put together, you have a complete AR.
You built one, right? You built your own? You built a few, right?
Yeah, I've built a couple of these. Like I said, this is a hobby of mine, so I enjoy building them. I know a little bit about them. So one last thing to note about the ARs is that these weapons are semi-automatic. For those that don't know, semi-automatic means single shot. One bullet is fired for each single trigger pull. This is standard, just like a pistol.
So you have to pull the trigger every time you fire it.
Correct.
So when civilians get their hands on these, every shot they fire, they're pulling the trigger.
Yes.
So they can't just hold it down.
No, so you can't have a fully automatic Armalite rifle, AR, without a Class 3 firearms license. You can apply for a Class 3 firearms license. I've actually looked into it. It's just a kind of a stricter
background check, essentially.
Yeah, process. Like I said, it's not out of reach. Like if I really wanted one, I could apply for one and potentially obtain one.
But so I have a question. So most of the mass shootings that happen, they're semi-automatic, right?
Yes.
So they're literally sitting there pulling the trigger.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull a trigger at a high rate of speed.
Because it's pretty easy. It's not like a tough...
Yeah.
It's not like a handgun where you have to actually put force behind it.
I mean, honestly, they can have the same trigger pull weight. You can modify your trigger pull weight in an AR, just like you can a pistol. Generally, the lowest you want to go with an AR is around 2.5 pounds. And that might be for like, competition shooting or just comfortability, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But they come standard around 7 to 12 pounds.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking, like, when I was in the Army, we had automatic. We had fully automatic. M4s, though.
Yeah, so I'm glad you bring that up because an M4 is essentially the same thing as an AR.
Yeah. It was a lot lighter from what I was told, like, to carry.
The M4?
Yeah. They said it was, because they used to use the AR-15 or even an M16. And then we went to the M4, and it was a lot lighter. Yeah,
so, I mean, the neat thing about ARs are pretty much all the parts are interchangeable, right? You can use M4 parts on an AR-15, M16, however you want. Because your other parts they have are like barrel guards, hand guards, sights, optics, stuff like that. Like I say, that's the gist of it before we kind of get into everything. But now that we've got the basics out of the way, let's talk a little bit about some of our experiences and thoughts on this. So, when's the first time that you shot a gun?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So, I want to say the first time that I shot a gun, I'll say like assisted. I was young. I definitely shot a BB gun when I was probably 5. I grew up in the country, so yeah, I probably shot my first BB gun around 5. And then, I think even my first 410, I might have been like 8 years old. And then my first 12 gauge, I was probably 10 or 12. And that one left a bruise because that was a pretty big kick. But from a super young age, I remember my dad and my brothers, like, we were always taught gun safety and how to walk with your gun and where to point it, things like that. And how to steady yourself to make sure you were comfortable. And yeah, so we were at a pretty young age. And then I remember too, so it was dove season. People don't come at me. I think I shot my first dove at like 8 or 10.
Okay.
And I shot it out of my bedroom window like the little redneck that I was. So, yeah. But, yeah, I'm pretty, obviously I was in the Army. I'm pretty comfortable with guns, but.
Yeah. Have you ever purchased a firearm yourself?
Not from like a store. So I've had one gifted to me. I've had a lot actually gifted to me, like the shotguns that I guess they weren't technically mine. But yeah, so my first handgun it was a gift. And then the next handgun that I got was also a gift. And then the last one that I finally got, I bought from my brother who bought it from a store. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, we'll get more into kind of the gifting portion and stuff later when it comes to gun control.
Yeah.
But so I myself probably didn't shoot a gun for the first time until early teens. I think I went out with a friend and his grandfather, and we went to a range and shot a shotgun. I think it was probably a 410, maybe a 12 gauge.
Okay.
And honestly, I was young and I wasn't a fan of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did it scare you?
I don't remember. I feel like I was just uncomfortable with it at the time.
Well, yeah. And I think that's probably a lot to do with because you didn't grow up with it.
No,
like I did.
I didn't grow up with it. My family never really into it. Mm-hmm. I was never taught anything about it.
Yeah.
I was given a very basic, okay, do this, don't do this, don't point here.
Oh,
right?
Oh, yeah. I'd be a little scared then too.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure the kick or anything.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it was a little scary my first time. I was fairly young and didn't know.
You want to know what else is scary though? When you're sitting in basic training and they ask, who's never shot a gun? And like half your company raises your hand, you're like, oh dear God.
Oh gosh.
That's also scary.
I can imagine. It's like, you can go to the range. You don't know if the person to your left or right's ever shot a gun before.
Yeah, it's true.
It's then you hear horror stories of a bullet going through the side because...
Yeah. And they would call it flagging if they point their gun at you and everyone freaks out like, hey, watch yourself. Get it together.
But as far as owning guns, I have purchased multiple guns. I've built multiple guns. I'll get a little bit into that later on here. But let's go ahead and just talk about kind of what we think about firearms and ammunition, values they provide, because a lot of people, I don't think they realize that it provides value to other people, the community.
You mean like safety?
It could be safety. It could be food. People go hunting.
Oh, true.
Hobbies, like myself.
Yeah.
Sport. I mean, there's a lot of things that...
Because I'm pretty sure, isn't it still in the Olympics?
Yeah.
Isn't shooting
yeah, there's
still part of
Olympic
the
shooting.
Olympics?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people say, oh, well, you shouldn't own a firearm. There's more to it than that. Like I said, you've got your hunting, and for those that say you can't hunt with an AR, you can. I have before.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that guns are more than just guns.
Yeah. People, and now I think a lot of times people, even when you hear the word gun, they're already terrified.
Yeah.
So.
And for those that don't know, I think guns are a great store of value. I think they hold their dollar value very well.
Yeah.
And I mean, heck, if, the government continues at the rate they're going, honestly, the value of guns is just going to go up.
Gosh, that's true.
So, yeah.
Just like ammunition. Holy moly.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, we won't even get into it, but the price of ammo has increased.
Well, it's like...
crazily.
My office is doing a team outing, and we're going to the shooting range.
When? I want to go.
It's July 7th, but yeah, and it's in the evening, so I can't even go. It's a Thursday, but so they're doing an outing, and they're going to the shooting range, and the doctor was like, you don't have to bring your own gun. I'm like, but you better bring your own ammunition, because that is expensive, but...
Yeah, ammo has definitely gone up in the last 2 years here, so that's kind of unfortunate because... it deters people from getting that practice and safety skills that they need.
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
Because, even us, I mean, we have, gonna toot my own horn, I shot expert, thank you. And then you are pretty good, too. So it's like, even us being good at shooting and comfortable with guns, it's like, we still want to practice.
Yeah.
And you still should practice, but... honestly, it's so freaking expensive right now. You feel like you're wasting it. And I mean, it's hard to come by too because it's so expensive. People are like buying it and stocking up on it. So it's hard to even find.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a deteriorating skill. And if you don't keep your training on it, then you are, less likely to be sufficient with these. I mean, heck,
weapons. Even in the Army, you have to qualify every year for it, even if you're job has nothing to do with weapons.
Right.
You still have to qual every year. So it's like you still have to practice, but
yeah. So how about we talk about just kind of some measures that are in place by some states. I'm not going to name off the measure or the state that this measure is in, but here's just a couple that I've kind of found and kind of read about. So obviously, one that I'm pretty sure is just nationwide. Felons can't own or possess a firearm. And honestly, I feel kind of bad because some of these felons, it's not assault. It's not, I don't want to say it's not a dangerous felony, but...
you could get a felony for having too much weed.
Right. And so, you can't own a firearm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of unfortunate, but,
any type of firearm?
No.
Shotgun?
Nothing.
Handgun? Okay.
Nothing. Yeah. It is, illegal to possess or own a firearm if you're a felon.
But, I mean, I kind of feel like that's
yeah, I mean, you're doing something bad, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
again,
you're digging your own grave there.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, it could be anything that you could get a felony for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think eventually, say you have, DUIs or something, can't that eventually become a felony if you have too many?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know if, involuntary actions from a DUI could bring felony charges, but yeah, I mean, stuff like that, right?
But they just have to blanket it, unfortunately, because a felony is a felony, and
Yeah. So this is kind of one that blew my mind. There's a state where you can't have a separate magazine on your AR. The magazine actually has to be tack welded into the lower receiver. Can you imagine? You have to disassemble the lower receiver from the upper receiver to reload it.
Stop.
Yeah.
No way. What sense does that make?
That would piss me off to no extent.
Yeah.
If I had to do that and I'm at the range and I have to disassemble my upper and lower just so I can shoot 10 more rounds because also in that state you're not allowed a magazine greater than a 10-round capacity.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That is terrible. That is such a bad law.
It's awful.
Holy cow.
Yep. So, on that, the rifles cannot have a magazine exceeding a 10-round capacity. Pistols cannot have a magazine exceeding 6 rounds capacity. I've seen you must obtain a permit to purchase a firearm from your local police stations in certain states.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little standard, right?
No.
Any firearm, not just a handgun.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then this last one is kind of bad.
I think this one's terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid.
So, red flag laws. If you don't know what this is where police, family, friends, kind of pretty much anybody that knows you, can petition the state court to order a temporary removal of firearms from someone due to believing they could be a present danger. And this is also known by other names in other states, but I've most commonly heard them as red flag laws.
And it's probably one of those things where it's like you're guilty until proven innocent. And instead of like investigating you, but like letting you keep your firearms during that time, they just take them and then they investigate you.
Yeah, and a lot of
just
times...
like CPS. Like, I listened to this one horrible case of like CPS and it was just mind-blowing, but then the parents were in the right and it took so long to prove it. So it's like, that is so backwards.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of times with these red flag laws, you don't know until the police are knocking on your door.
Right.
So I've heard horror stories of this where, police come knocking and you have no clue, coming to take your guns. And I mean, yeah, I'd be pretty pissed too. Obviously, I might be a little bit more level-headed than some of these other people, but, it ends up in a shootout and people die.
That is terrible.
It's like, I would be pissed if somebody came and tried to take my guns.
Yeah. And then, like, that's the thing. Like, say, you tick off your neighbor and they know that you have weapons, they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to tell on them and say, I think they're suspicious or whatever. And then, boom, then your stuff's taken away from you.
Yeah. So, these are just a couple measures in some states. Not all states and not all the measures. But I'm going to just go ahead and talk real quick about the process that I went through to own a firearm in the state of Texas. That's our home state where we live. And when we moved from Virginia to Texas...
That was like one of the first things you did.
I was just about to say, that was like literally one of the first things I did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were here for like 2 days. And you're like, where's the firearms? Like...
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I had my permit. So, and to note on that, right, you don't need a permit to own a firearm in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
As with most states, the only thing that you need is a license or military orders to be in the state and a background check.
Yeah, and then you can open carry.
Exactly. Yeah, you can open carry a firearm freely without any sort of permit. To conceal, though, you usually have to have a concealed carry permit, a firearm permit, something of that sort. So that was, like I said, one of the first things I did in Texas here. And when I did that, I had to take a kind of an awareness course, a online safety course. I had to get my fingerprints. I had to do a background check. I had to take, a test on the courses that I was given. And then I also had to do a instructor-led gun safety course.
See, and I think that's all great.
Yeah, no, that's really good. For the state of Virginia, all I had to do, believe it or not, it was less.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. State of Virginia, all I had to do was take an online course, take a 25-question quiz, and bring my past quiz, $50 to the courthouse, submit my documents there, then bring them over to the police station, get my prints, and
so
go on. So
once you get that and you renew it, do you have to do that whole process over again, or you just renew it?
No, when you renew it, you just have to pay the fee and renew it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and I think you have to renew it every 5 years.
Yeah. I just also want to point out that, like, thankfully that is a lot of steps, but, like, literally, it's still harder for me to get my Adderall every month than get a freaking gun.
Yeah, you just went through that, and it's
took still
a while.
not right. It's still not right.
I know. Yeah.
So that's just crazy. That just tells you how the world is. A prescription that I've been taking for 8 years, and I still have to jump through hoops every single month to get it refilled.
Yeah.
Insane. But any Joe Schmo can go and take these tests and pretend to be normal and get a gun. So
once you have your permit, some states will respect your home state's permit, and you can carry in that state. However, you do have to be wary because some states do not respect your home state's permit.
So say like we went to Indiana and we have our Texas gun permit. I'm pretty sure Indiana is like one of those states.
Yes, I think they are.
But just as an example, so say they weren't and we concealed carried, we could get in trouble?
Yes, you would be breaking the law at that point.
And is that a felony?
I honestly can't say. I don't know, and I'm not going to answer it if I don't know.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so you've kind of heard the process that I went through. What do you think of that process? Do you think that's enough?
I mean, it's a good start. I think the fingerprints, the background check, the courses I definitely like. I don't like the fact that they're online because anybody could do them for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, even the test, because you said the test was online, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like anybody could take that test for you. So I feel like that should be in person. Like my freaking driver's ed was in person. Why is this not in person?
Right.
And I get that like everything's online now, but if you have to go somewhere to physically get your concealed carry permit and you have to take that other course with the instructor, they might as well just do the whole test there. So I kind of wish that was different. And then, I mean, I don't know what they do in the background check. They probably just check for obviously any charges, any type of jail time, anything like that. But honestly, at this point, I kind of feel like they should be checking social media because
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, because so many people put stuff on social media. I mean, employers check social media before they hire you.
Yeah.
So why not check it for a gun permit? I think, definitely do that. And then if there's any like kind of red flags that they see, then maybe kind of treat it like a soft security clearance, I guess. Like go interview people because I mean I had top security clearance and they interviewed people that I hadn't even talked to in years. Yep. So, and I had no clue who they were going to interview, so it's not like I could go warn these people, you know. So I kind of feel like they should definitely check social media, add that to the list, and if any red flags or even if they just get like kind of a weird vibe, then I feel like they should like do kind of like a security clearance type thing where they interview the person, they interview other people. I mean, I remember my security clearance interview, I could hear the guy yelling at the other kid in front of me. He was like an 18-year-old kid. I was like 22 when I went in the Army, so I was kind of one of the older ones. And the kid came out crying, and I was like so nervous. And I remember my recruiter was like, yeah, he's kind of a hard ass. I was like, okay, well, it'll be fine. I walked in, and he kind of was, but I was kind of cocky too, so I think he liked me. But yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking at first, but I think they should have people like that. And I mean, that's what their job is. Their job is to see if you're qualified and all that. So I just think that should be added. Yeah, no, I actually like that. That's kind of something that you just threw in there. And I think it's a pretty valid point. Yeah. How do you feel about like a mental health evaluation? I feel like that's a good one too. I mean, every time I take a lark to the freaking pediatrician, I have to fill out a mental health evaluation for myself, like for postpartum. I mean, like, when we're a year past that, so I don't see why they don't do it for gun control too. I mean, I obviously know you can lie on that paper, but if you meet with someone who does like the security clearance background check, they'll be able to tell if there's something going on. And then if they think everything kind of checks out, but like you might need to see like a psychologist or something or a psychiatrist, then I think that would be a good idea. But that one's a little tricky because, I mean, even ADHD could be considered like a mental health disorder, I think. Right. So that one could be a little tricky. And I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people I've talked to like have at some point in their life struggled with some sort of depression or anxiety. So, especially now. Yeah. So that could be kind of tricky. But I definitely think it is still a good idea to check and just kind of see where they're at. Like, even if it's, like, have you ever felt this way? I'm like, oh, only sometimes. It's not like I hate the world type thing.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it could be something that you kind of throw in every 5 years or 10 years even.
Yeah.
Could be whenever you renew your permit, if you have a permit.
Yeah.
Or it could just, be, a 5 or 10 year thing if you don't have a permit.
Yeah.
Just it has to be shown when you...
From your doctor, like you get it like at your wellness physical or something. Yeah. And pass, like they say, yeah, you pass the checklist and here you go. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So how about like gun safety? Because the instructor, when I took the course, I mean, there was some minimal gun safety, hey, do you know what you're doing? Yeah, okay, do this. But it wasn't a very intense gun safety training. It was a very brief, since I already had a little bit of experience, but yeah, again, very brief.
I mean, I guess that kind of just is on the instructor at that point. Like if you say, yeah, I'm okay, and they take your word for it, I mean, they kind of have to, and then they observe you, and they think you are handling it well, then I think that's fine. But if somebody says, no, I got it, and then they end up kind of like fumbling around with it, I feel like then that should be on the instructor to like step in and say, okay, you're actually not doing it right, or you're not being safe. But I definitely think that safety is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, even teaching young, but it's like, because my handgun doesn't have a safety on it because it's so small.
Right, and there's a lot of guns like that.
Yeah, and so it's like, I definitely would not recommend that to a first-time gun owner. And I was actually talking about it with a friend, and she's like, I've never owned a handgun. I want one, but I want a small one. I was like, well, then you should probably make sure there's one with a safety on it because... Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even me, like I still am, especially with Alaric now, like I am still so cautious with my handgun that I don't even keep one in the chamber. I just feel like that's safer, but...
Yeah, I mean, we really don't keep any around the house anymore like we used to. We used to keep one at the bedside.
Yeah, one on your side, one on my side.
Yeah.
One in the car, like, that we took out every night. But, you know, we keep it heck, for a while I had one in the diaper bag. But it's like, yeah, we don't keep him around anymore, especially because he's crawling. And
yeah, he's getting older, getting more access to things. Obviously, we will find ways to better secure them and keep them with us. But yeah. Yeah, they're in a safe right now, but we have that lockbox in the car, too. We have the safe in the car, but yeah, I think it's super important to make sure the person feels comfortable. And back to the whole, how you think you should obtain a permit. Maybe even go to the extent of just taking like an hour class every 5 years, just to make sure. Yeah, like a refresher course.
Yep, a refresher, another safety course, another like, I know what I'm doing, let me show you type thing. Yeah. So I think something that should happen at least, your first time, I think there should be a gun safety course where you have to break down the firearm with a dummy round. Because a lot of times people don't clear the chambers, and like that's super basic. Yeah, that even happened to my grandpa. He was in the Army. He was a freaking MP, and he was cleaning, and he was like, I was a kid, I was a teenager. He was cleaning one of his guns, and it freaking shot through the ceiling. And we're like, seriously, Grandpa? Like, you were in the Army he was in Vietnam, and it's like, he grew up hunting, and we're like, are you kidding me right now? So then they fixed the hole, right? Well, then my dad puts a freaking target up, like, above his chair where he did it, and as a joke, and then, I'm not joking, cannot make this up, like 3 years later, he did it again. And we're like, Grandpa.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, yes, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So I think that should be thrown in there as a one-time thing. And then you can have, like, advanced training courses or advanced safety courses, annual gun safety reviews. There's a lot of additional safety training reviews that can be added.
Yeah. And I think it would be important, too, if it was affordable.
Yeah. So...
Because I think... The course that your mom took, wasn't it around $250?
It could have been.
Yeah. And see, that just seems pretty high. I mean, I know you're paying for the service and you're paying the instructor, you're paying for the certification. Right. But it's like, if we really want this to be a safer option and like we want people to do this, then we need to make it affordable. Yeah. Because that's super expensive.
I like that because, times like this especially, people are always money conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, not just... Yeah, I feel like it just needs to be more accessible and affordable to everybody.
No, I agree. So I'm going to talk about my experience the very first time that I purchased a firearm. And this is actually going to fall back onto the seller. But so the very first time I purchased a firearm, it was online and it was shipped directly to my house.
Yeah? Is that weird or something?
That is a no-no.
Why?
Every time that you transfer a firearm...
Oh, you bought it from a person. You didn't buy it off
I know, I bought it from a store online.
Okay.
But anytime you transfer a firearm, it's supposed to go through something called an FFL. An FFL is a federal firearms licensee. So, like back in Virginia, there was this guy who opened up an LLC, and he was just an FFL. So, because it was cheaper for him to do it out of his home, and, it's like $20-$25.
Yeah.
And you ship your rifle, pistol, whatever, to him.
Okay.
And then you go to his house, because he ran it out of his house. And he filled out all the paperwork, your ATF paperwork, everything like that. Huh. Yeah, and then...
Surprised you haven't told me you want to do that.
I'm not home enough for it. Otherwise, we might be doing it. But, so, and he made $20-$25 every transfer.
Wow.
Yeah. So, everything's supposed to go through an FFL. So in that instance, the seller, they could have gotten in trouble.
Wow.
I ended up taking it to the FFL that I originally planned to transfer it from and got everything done properly.
So the FFL guy would not be in trouble, just the seller?
Correct.
Huh.
Yep.
So, but you bought it from a store?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep. So, however, you can... Remember how you had mentioned your guns were gifts?
Yeah.
So, when you go to purchase a firearm, you actually have to state whether the gun is for you or a gift for somebody else.
But at the time, if you're truly getting it for yourself, then...
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there are times where, hey, I'm getting this as for a gift for my son, or a gift for my grandson, gift for my daughter, right? Because, hunting, hobby, anything.
Yeah.
But say you don't do that, say you buy it for yourself, and you do go to sell it later on to another individual. This is where things kind of fall off.
That's honestly such a fear of mine. Is like, I've only sold one handgun to somebody, and I know that one was a gift to me, and it was registered as a gift to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, my name's on the serial number, so it's like, I'm so paranoid that, because I didn't sell it properly.
Right.
And, like, I'm so paranoid that, like, what if they sold it, and now, like, somebody does something horrible with it, and it's, like, linked back to me, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm in Texas, that's not me. But so, like, the one that I bought from my brother, we went on the NRA website and we printed off a bill of sale, did it the right way.
Yep,
so
exactly.
That's fine. But like the one before that, yeah, I totally the dude just gave me cash. I mean, he was like a friend, sort of. He was like a friend of a friend.
Yeah. But I mean,
But now I have no idea where that's at.
Exactly.
I mean, he's in the Navy. He could be anywhere.
Yep, they could sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned the bill of sale, because, like I said, you can sell these firearms to anybody.
Yep.
Whoever's got the money and willing to buy it, sell it to them. But the proper way would be to have a bill of sale. That way you have proof and evidence.
Yeah.
However, not every state actually requires you to register your firearms.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary. It's more so just for a, safety kind of a admin, keep you out of any trouble if that gun is used in a crime in some sorts.
As we say at work, CYOA, cover your own ass.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So, anything else that you feel is pertinent, or?
I don't know. I'm glad that we did do this, because I feel like a lot of, like I said at the beginning, like when you say guns, people get nervous.
My ears perk up.
Yeah, but like some people get nervous, and it's like when I tell people that I carry, people get nervous, and like, oh my gosh, you do? Like, you're a total hippie and you have a gun? It's like, yeah, but I'm glad that we did this topic, because I feel like it gives people more of an insight on us. It's not just because you're pro gun that you are pro everything that is currently going on with how guns are
Right.
ran. So, and I just, again, like when I tell people I am pro gun, it's not like I'm some raging redneck that's stockpiling all the guns, and that's not how we are. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there's a good happy medium, and honestly, it's like the safe people that are doing it the safe way. I don't want to say like we're not the problem, but like we're really not the problem, you know? And so, yes, I love all these measures that are going into place, and like I like the suggestions that we have, but again, it's like the right people, the good people that are going to be doing this are going to be the only ones doing this. If you are a bad person and you want to get a gun, you're going to get a gun. Just like drugs. If you want to get drugs, you're going to find drugs.
Yeah, so I like that you say that, because when I see a fellow member of the community who has a firearm on their side, which is actually a lot in Texas, I feel more comfortable.
Heck yeah.
I'm not afraid. I feel more comfortable that they're standing next to me, because I know if something happens, a bad guy comes in with a gun, well, chances are we're going to have more numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you take guns away, guns will still be used in violent crimes.
Oh, yeah. The gun is not the problem. It's the people.
It is. It's the people. It's the training.
Yeah.
It's more than just the gun.
Yeah. Yep. And it is unfortunate. Like I said, the people that are going to continue to do the right things are not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how, when they talk about gun control, I really am just interested to see how they can't even get a handle on drugs. You know? So how do they expect to get a handle on guns? I mean, you can build it from scratch.
And if you look at the numbers, there's more drug deaths than there are gun deaths.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot of things. Like any of the they're all tragedies.
Of course.
Obviously should be preventable, should not happen at all.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because I saw statistic, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it was fact, but we sent so much money to Ukraine.
Yes.
To aid in what's happening there.
Millions.
Again, tragic. But if you took all that money and broke it down and divided it up amongst schools, those schools would have enough money to have a armed resource officer at every school. Yeah,
and see, that's what also bothers the heck out of me. Just because there's a sign that says this is a gun-free zone doesn't mean the bad guy's gonna be like, oh, there's a sign there. Gotta turn around and go somewhere else. That is not... No,
that puts a giant target on your back. Are you kidding me?
It really does. It really does.
It's like, oh man, if I go in here, nobody's gonna mess with me.
Exactly. And
could you imagine if banks...
Oh my gosh.
Our officers don't have guns.
It just, it doesn't make sense. And, that really bothers me that they do that. And I don't understand why the president, banks, jewelry stores, sometimes just malls in general, why the zoo. I remember we were walking into the zoo that day and there was freaking police officers walking around.
Yeah.
Why do those places have armed police officers or guards, but a school doesn't? So everything else is guarded with guns except a school? What sense does that make? And you know what? We were talking, my elementary school growing up, you walked in the breezeway, the doors, and then there was a little breezeway, and then you had full access to every classroom. You didn't have to go through the front office, and they were always unlocked.
Yeah.
But that was the early 2000s. But
I think that's how most schools are, though.
Not now, because when I went to the elementary school for dental hygiene day, so they knew we were coming. They knew how many people were coming, and one of the girls forgot her ID.
Oh.
And because she wasn't driving, we all drove together.
Yeah.
And they would not let her in. So,
oh, wow.
Yep. So we had to buzz in from the outside, stand outside. They let us in. We were on a breezeway. And then there was the front office, which was also behind a glass door. And then there was another door that was locked. So we had to give them all our IDs. We got little name badges. We got our picture taken. And then the other girl had to go wait in the car because she didn't have her ID. And then we got escorted by a teacher, and then we did our little presentation, and
Yeah.
then we were escorted back to the front by the same teacher, and then we had to turn in our visitor's pass sticker, and then we got our IDs back. So super safe. That one made me feel super secure, but I know not all of them are like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope my elementary school changed, like from where I grew up, because like literally you could walk in and like there was 3 sets of doors, and the 2 side doors were always locked, but like the middle door was always unlocked, so you could just walk right in. And I mean, I remember like, yes, the office was to the left and it was glass doors, but like you could walk straight back. There was classrooms to the right. It was right by the cafeteria. So, and then the gym. So it's like they just need to be safer, and I just still do not understand why there's not a few police officers.
Yeah, I mean, police officers, hired guards. There should be somebody, an armed guard or officer, security at every school.
I mean, even if they don't want to go to the extent of like carrying a firearm, I mean, I've been sandbagged and I've been tased and pepper sprayed being in the Army. That'll take you down.
Yeah.
So at least have that, you know, if they don't feel comfortable with a police officer walking around, you know, because you never know with kids or whatever, give them that.
Yeah.
That'll do enough.
Yeah, I mean, deter them, give them time.
Yep.
You know.
Slow them down.
Yep. And as far as, like, so remember when we were in Virginia and Trump had just lost the presidency, per se?
Yeah.
And, like, or no, it wasn't the presidency, it was the governor.
Okay, I don't really remember, but...
Northam, maybe?
Yeah, it's Governor Northam.
Yeah, and they talked about all these kind of gun controls, and, like, they were going to try to take guns and all these different gun laws. It's like, I don't think they should ever try to take your guns or limit how many you own or purchase. Because, like I said, there's...
But, I mean, like, to a point, like, look at Waco. That's the only reason that they knew about the things that were going on in that compound was because they had so many guns.
Yeah, but also
that's
all the people at Waco
flagged.
chose to be there, right?
Not really.
No?
They were brainwashed.
It was a cult. They, at one point or another, chose.
But then the women, like, the kids...
Yeah.
That was wrong, you know.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
But I know, but I'm saying, like, that's how they were flagged by the FBI, is because they had so many.
Yeah.
And it's like, at that point, yeah, why do you need that many? And look what happened at Waco. That was horrible.
Yeah, that was bad.
So.
But, like, I don't know, a hobbyist, the prepper.
So, like, if you had to put a number on it, what would you put a number as? Like, how, like, if they said, give me a limit, what do you think an appropriate limit is?
50.
50? Shoot! I was thinking you would say, like, 20. Like, 20 of the same one. Like, not including handguns.
So you're saying, like, 20 of, like...
20 rifles.
This rifle, this model, this...
No, just
20 rifles in general?
20 rifles in general.
See, as a hobbyist, right, and you could say hobbyist collector, it's like, I like to own all of these different kinds and, you know, take them out to shoot them a few times and, again, store a value, right? You know, these guns come in different calibers, different sizes.
Yeah,
and
I know, but, like, honestly, 20 is... I feel like that's plenty.
But there's more than 20 options.
Okay, so if you want more, then just like what we're doing with Alaric, right? He wants more toys. He's got to give away toys. So you want a separate, you know.
Okay, so this is perfect because this is something that we're disagreeing on. I thought we would be completely agreed on for the most part, but I don't think there should be a limit. And you do?
Yeah, within reason. I mean, I don't think it should be like 5, but I'm thinking like, honestly, 20 is plenty.
Yeah, see, I don't think there should be a limit.
For like rifles and handguns. So 20 rifles.
So 40 total.
Yeah, 40 total. And if you want a separate one, then you have to give another one away. Just like we said with Alaric. Like, when his birthdays and Christmas come up, because we don't have a lot of room and we're not going to have a lot of room. Yeah. It's like, okay, you're getting however many toys for your birthday or Christmas. That's how many you have to give away.
See, You
and
know
you
how
agree with me on that, but not your guns?
Nope, not my guns.
See?
The guns are more valuable. Like I said, it's a store of value. It's a collector's thing. So, like, when we get a house, it's like, if I have a man cave, I legit want one of my walls in my man cave to just be, the guns kind of shown like they are at the range, the rentals. Obviously, I want to be able to lock my man cave.
Yeah, obviously.
But, yeah. And, okay, so you bring up Alaric. We haven't touched this topic yet. Let's go ahead and touch this real quick.
Okay.
I think that we should teach Alaric about gun safety and guns as soon as he's able to comprehend the subject.
Yeah, I agree. Like, super young. I mean, we could even start with, like, Nerf guns or something, and little toy guns, and we explain what they're for. We don't point them at anybody. No. And if he does, even in play, like, I mean, we used to play war in the backyard, and we all thought that was fine. We used to freaking shoot each other with BB guns, and, like, we thought it was fine.
Oh, yeah. Me and my friends did the same.
Yeah. But I don't want him to think that's okay. And because even Nerf guns, I feel like if you're shooting somebody, now that I look back at it, I'm like, why did I think that was okay?
Because we knew that, this isn't going to hurt the person, so on and so forth.
Yes.
We were able to comprehend the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as Alaric can comprehend the difference between yes and no, right and wrong, I think we should teach him.
Yeah, and I see what you mean. Like, it's just fun. It's like lighthearted, and it's not anything serious.
There are some parents who are like, nope, you're not touching that. Nope, you can't point it. But
I don't want him to think that it's okay to point it at
no, not
people.
At all.
So yeah, we'll definitely start young, I think, and teach him gun safety. Teach him that if, say, he's at a friend's house, that we're not there, or, if the family has a gun out, like, please, if they're not being careful, like, he needs to be careful. He needs to be mindful of where the gun is, who has it, even if it's an adult. I don't want him to be afraid of guns, but I want him to understand that he needs to be aware of them. Yeah. And if a little kid gets a hold of it while his friends are like, hey, come look at this gun, he better say no, and he better go tell on him. I don't want our kid being a snitch, but that is one thing he better tell on. Like,
no, I agree.
Hey, you're like, we're not playing with that. That is not something to play with without a parent. Yep. Not even to, like, look at, even if they think it's not loaded. I don't. Yeah,
because you just never know. Look at your grandpa.
Yeah. Seriously. But, like, yeah, I think the younger we start telling him about it, the better.
Oh, yeah.
And the younger that we can assist him with how to get comfortable with it, I think that's better, too. Yep. Because, I mean, at that point, like, when I was older, I was completely comfortable with guns. I wasn't scared at all.
And, obviously, we'll leave the choice up to him, because it's like, I've got two younger brothers. One of them is just like me, loves guns, ammo, know everything. The other doesn't want anything to do with it, doesn't want to touch them.
Yep, and that is perfectly fine. If Alaric wants to not touch them, doesn't feel comfortable, if they really scare him, then that is fine. I don't care if he's 30 years old and they still scare him. He does not have to, we're not going to force him to learn. No. But I definitely still want to teach him safety. Yes. Even if he doesn't feel comfortable shooting it. And safety meaning if other people are around him have it, he just needs to be aware what to do if there is an active shooter.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah, because, I mean, especially, like, yes, we are homeschooling, but we could be at the mall, we could be at the store, anywhere. And I wanted them to be aware, because some of the things that I read and have seen, like, on TV is not what I was trained in the Army to do. I'm like, that's not even right. Right. So we went over that, and, like, I want to teach him that too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I think this was fairly in-depth from what we're normally used to. Yeah. And I think this was one of the first topics where we actually agreed on it from the beginning, for the most part anyways, right? Yeah. But we hope you learned a little bit from this, learned a little bit about guns, gun control, and more importantly, gun safety. Yep. As Sierra mentioned, this was actually a listener topic, and we were happy that they reached out to us and kind of pushed us towards this. Yeah. They said that they thought we might be able to make this a little bit lighthearted, so hopefully we didn't hurt anybody's feelings. Yeah. But if you have a topic in mind that you want us to talk about, send us a message. We love to hear these topic ideas because, we try to run with it. Make sure you like and follow our Instagram at ACS Entertainment LLC. Click that link in our bio to listen or follow us, and go to our YouTube. We got a couple extra things there now. We're doing ASMR videos on Friday, mostly just sounds on black screens, get to sleep pretty well.
Yep.
And then we're doing a kind of a motivational Monday type thing. Same thing. It's some euphoric, good vibe music that we're putting out Monday mornings for your drive to work.
Alaric likes it.
Yeah, Alaric loves it. So, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you tune in next week for a new episode of He Said, She Said.